ovom izdanju rubrike Minute sad govorimo o književnosti i o tome kako je ona možda najvjerniji prikazatelj čovjekovog života, njegov svjedok našeg boravka na ovome svijetu, ali i svojevrsni put ka najdubljim emocijama istini. Moj današnji gost, američki je novinar, esejist, pisac Nathan Thrall, autor knjige Jedan dan u životu Abeda Salame. Knjige koja je proglašena za knjigu godine i knjiga koja je dobila najveće priznanje Pulitzerovu nagradu. Good morning. Welcome to Sarajevo.
I'm so pleased to be here.
We are very pleased to have you.
Well, I've just arrived yesterday after a 5.5-hour drive because the airports are still very restricted out of Tel Aviv. So I had to fly to a distant airport and drive from Montenegro here. But it's lovely. It's a beautiful city. They say it's the Middle East of the Jerusalem of Eastern Europe, right?
Yes,
so,
yes.
Yeah.
I felt a huge need to tell you thank you. Thank you for writing this book. Thank you for telling this story about a man and his pain that he survived in one day. And thank you for reminding us of the important in life.
Thank you. You know, for me this book is kind of an answer to all of those people who would like to claim that history began on October 7th, and they want to start all their discussion of Israel-Palestine with October 7th. And this is a book about a system of domination that's in place that affects the lives of millions of Palestinians, and it was in place for decades before October 7th. It's still in place today. It's only becoming more deeply entrenched. And so I feel that the book is more relevant, more important than ever.
What initially attracted you to Abed's story, and what did you feel was so necessary to tell that story and his emotion in such details?
For me, the critical thing was to try to reach people emotionally, because the people who are open to hearing intellectual or historical or analytical arguments about Israel-Palestine, they're already interested. Mm-hmm. But we have millions of people around the world, citizens of countries in Europe, countries in the West, in the United States, who are totally oblivious to what their own governments are doing, what their own tax dollars are doing in support of this system of racial domination. And so what I really felt was critical was to reach people on an emotional level, to just let them feel what it is that their own governments are supporting, and hopefully to try and begin to make some kind of change in how they think about this place.
Abed Salama emerges as a deeply human figure. His 24-hour search for his son reveals both the emotional and political complexities of Palestinian life. During your reporting, what did you learn about Abed that surprised you, and what insights did you gain into everyday Palestinian life?
So for many years I had been working in Israel-Palestine as an analyst, and I was called on by journalists and diplomats and others to explain what was happening politically. So it was part of my job to really know the details of the system, of the permit system, of the segregated roads, of how Israel is taking over lands of Palestinians. All of these mechanisms of control I was called on to explain, so I knew a lot about that already when I wrote this book. So the kind of knowledge that I gained in talking to Abed and spending so much time with Abed was not so much a technical understanding of the system of control, but more a kind of an emotional one, understanding what it really means for people to live under this system, learning how deeply it penetrates their lives. It's not just about waiting in a checkpoint for hours. It's not just about not being able to make an appointment because an 18-year-old soldier can decide to change your whole day or your week or your life. It's also about even choices like who Abed at one point is going to marry. because of an elaborate permit system that means that he's going to lose his job in Jerusalem unless he finds the right, a marriage partner with the right color ID. So to describe how intimate the system of control is, how it penetrates the most intimate aspects of Palestinian life, that was the kind of knowledge that I gained in reporting this book.
And while you were spending time with Abed, painful story and painful truth about what that man survived, and what was your emotion, what your being was saying inside?
You know, in many ways I felt like this book was a confrontation with my worst nightmare. I have 3 daughters. My youngest was the age of Abed's son Milad at the time that I was writing and reporting this book. And what he experienced is really every parent's worst nightmare. And it was impossible for me not to listen to his story and the stories of other people in this book and not be deeply affected by them. And so my job really was to translate that immediate feeling that I had of grief, of sorrow, on hearing their stories and put them on the page so that the reader could understand that feeling as well.
Did you change?
I
Your
think
perspective of seeing things, feeling things, other people?
I think it did change. As I said, I was already deeply opposed to this system. It was my life's work. I was an analyst working on it. But to really absorb it in an emotional way did change how I feel about my place there and about the urgency of ending this suffering.
And what is the most important thing to be cherished in life while we are still here in this place on earth?
I think that the most important thing that we have is our love for one another. And I think that Abed's love for his family and for his children is one of the great themes of the book. And he's an extraordinary human being, an extraordinary person, and the amount of goodness he exudes is remarkable.
Let's go back to the story and to the book. The book required extensive research into Palestinian daily life under occupation. And what were the most significant challenges you faced in gathering information and conducting interviews?
So the sad truth of this system is that it's designed in a way that it keeps Palestinians locked in their cages, but other people, Israeli Jews, tourists, journalists like me, they don't feel it. They can move around freely. And so, you know, I would go and visit Abed, and it would take me, you know, if there's no traffic, it could take me 15 minutes to reach him at his home. But for him to come in the opposite direction and to see me requires days. It requires applying for a permit, maybe having that permit rejected and he can't see me at all. If he does get the permit accepted, then there are only a few checkpoints he's allowed to go through, not the one that I went through to go see him. He has to go a different way. He has to walk on foot. He can't go through a car. He gets a taxi on the other side. And so even after he gets the permit, it can take him hours to come to see me. So it's 2 people, but for me, 10, 15 minutes. For him, days, maybe never. And once the permit goes through, hours. So that's the contrast that you see every minute that you are reporting on it. But did I personally face real obstacles in reporting the book? Very few.
Very interesting. And were you angry?
I am angry all the time. That's a big part of my writing, is channeling that anger and and turning it into something that is more quiet, actually, a kind of a quiet anger, because I think that the facts of the situation are so outrageous, they're so indefensible, that the most powerful case I can make, the most powerful way that I can make a reader feel that they need to do something to end this situation is to be understated, to be cool and calm and let the facts speak for themselves. So my challenge is actually to suppress that anger when I write.
It's very interesting the way of your writing and storytelling. You absolutely entered the Arab mentality. You're telling story in their way, in Arab way. Was that a goal, or?
The goal for me was that the book would put you in the shoes of the characters. It would put you in Abed's shoes. It would put you in the shoes of the parents and the teachers and doctors and everyone who inhabits this story. And so, given that many of the characters are Palestinian, are Arabs, then it's a huge compliment what you say.
Now, after all the experience, can you tell what is the main difference between a writer and a journalist in order to tell a story to the public, to the audience? Were there times when you had struggled with balancing emotional storytelling as a writer and objectivity as a journalist?
You know, I don't really believe in journalistic objectivity. I believe that journalists always have a point of view. Now, that point of view might be very mainstream. Maybe many, many other people accept that point of view, and so we think of it as objective. And Israel-Palestine is a very good case. What is considered objective in Israel-Palestine is a specific point of view. For the Western media, objective is Israel has a right to exist as a Jewish state. It had a right to establish a state for the Jews on the land of the Palestinians, even when the Jews were 3 to 5% of the population of Palestine at the time that the Zionist settlers first started to arrive in Palestine. So this is objective, or it's a point of view. I would say it's a point of view that's not at all objective. It's not my point of view. And so that's the first thing I would say about objectivity. The other thing is I've always been much more interested in long-form writing, more magazine writing, book writing, and that is doesn't follow the same rules of like a news service, the AP or Reuters, which has to, you know, every paragraph, this side said this side said this side said this, like that. That's not, I don't believe that that's the best way to inform a reader, to give them a clear picture of what is happening. And in fact, it can distort things. And so for me, my objective is to show you exactly what the world looks like, actually without me entering it and telling you what to think, showing you what it looks like through the character's perspective. And whether that's, again, I don't believe in objectivity, but I believe it reaches a deeper truth.
And how has the current political situation, especially following October 7th, affected the reception of your work?
Yeah. You know, before the book came out, the book came out on October 3rd, 2023. So 4 days before October 7th. And at that time, I was getting many positive reviews, and my editor and I had the goal and the belief that we were going to make a major dent in liberal Jewish opinion in the United States in particular. That was not the only audience we had in mind, but it was one that we thought that we had a real chance to change how they thought about this place. They're a very influential group. Changing their views on this conflict can have a real impact. And they had already been kind of opening themselves at that time to understanding Israel-Palestine as a case of apartheid. This was an idea that was becoming mainstream in the U.S. Media, and after October 7th, all of that disappeared. Those people who had invited me and Abed, we went together to the United States to speak. Many of them canceled our events. Many of the exact sorts of people who I hoped to change their viewpoint, their ears became deaf to the message of this book, and it stayed that way.
Stayed that way?
Yes.
What do you think about that?
Well, it's enormously frustrating, but, you know, I think that eventually those people are going to have to come to some kind of reckoning with what it is that they're defending. And I think that they're seeing every day a greater and greater contradiction between what they are saying they believe in and what is actually happening in Gaza, in the West Bank, and I hope that their views are going to change in the way they had been changing before October 7th.
Your book has won the Pulitzer Prize. What response from readers, if I can ask both sides, Palestinian and Israeli, as well as international audience, have been most meaningful to you? And how do you hope the book contributes to the wider understanding of this conflict, of this situation? And do you believe in one way, in one moment, that this book could invite peace?
To the last question, that's the easiest one, absolutely not. I don't have any kind of illusion that one book can bring peace. And in fact, even regardless of books or films or art or even politicians, I don't believe that that peace is anywhere on the horizon. I think that the balance of power is so distorted. The Palestinians have no ability to achieve their basic rights. And Israel is slowly achieving all of its objectives. It's taking over the land, it's constricting Palestinians into smaller and smaller spaces, and hovering over that is the threat of more expulsion. So I think the trajectory we're on is toward the opposite of peace, not toward peace. In terms of the reactions from readers that have been most meaningful, for me, the most meaningful reaction was from Abed himself. That he told me after he read the book that he held it like it was his son. And he has been the biggest supporter of this book, and it's been very moving to me, the way that he's embraced it and the way that he has felt a real pride in the fact that his son's story is on the tongues of people in different languages around the world. And on the Israeli side, so far there's just been one review in the Hebrew press, in Haaretz, and that was actually one of the best reviews the book has received. But the Hebrew translation has still not come out yet. It's going to come out probably within a year, and there I expect that I will face many, many negative reviews.
And are you ready for that?
Yes, yes.
Will you give the feedback?
Of course, of course. It's part of my job. I'm used to it. I'm ready for it.
And we are ready to read it with joy. Are you still in touch with Abed and his family? How are they? Where are they? What was his first reaction when he read the book? So
I'm in close touch with Abed. I just saw him, I think it was Sunday, so a few days ago I saw him. And he and his family are still, they're living in Anata, and like all the people of the West Bank, they're facing the greatest restrictions on their movement that they've ever faced. They're waiting hours to travel distances that used to take 20 minutes or half an hour. They're facing an enormous campaign of arrest of young men who are being taken into jail and coming out looking so emaciated, so thin that they are unrecognizable to some of their family members. And Abed has had relatives arrested, he's had relatives killed in this period, and he fears for his family, for his children, for Israelis the army is making raids regularly into Anata, right below his balcony. He sends me videos and shows me. And all of this is just continuing unabated. The confiscation of the land, the enclosure of Palestinians. Just a week, or roughly a week and a half ago, they installed a new gate at the only exit for the town, a big yellow gate, so that Israel at any moment can turn the key and lock in 130,000 people and not let them leave. So those are the conditions that he and his family are living in.
And he doesn't want to leave? He doesn't want to go away from there?
No. It's his, he wants the situation to change, but he doesn't want to leave his land. He doesn't want to give up on his fight for his rights.
Well, if you can say hi to him from Sarajevo.
I will.
Give him support and love from us.
I will.
Have you ever wanted to say something, but you didn't have a chance?
It's a hard question. No, I've been given too many chances to talk, I think.
The last word, the message for Sarajevo.
I think the most fundamental thing I just was out in the street in Sarajevo and I saw a bridge that had a big banner on it about Gaza and 17,000 children killed. And I think that it's very, very important that all of us keep this at the top of our thoughts, at the top of our speech, at the top of our demands of politicians, of our governments. I think that we have to see a radical shift in how the world is dealing with Israel. Israel will continue to do this as long as it feels it can get away with it. And it is getting away with it. People need to change their attitude toward this government, and they need to cease to do any business with it, to give any kind of normalcy to this government. And they don't feel it. They don't feel sanctions. They don't feel that their businesses are being choked. They don't feel that their travel is restricted. They're very basic things that the rest of the world needs to do, at the very least not to be complicit in what is happening. And so I would just urge the people who have the suffering of the Palestinians in their hearts to think about how they can do more to change the situation for Palestinians. I think the most important thing is that we're here in the year 2025, and there is a state that is keeping millions of people deprived of their basic civil rights for decades. And all the world is doing business with this state, is inviting the leaders of the state to come to their capitals and shake hands with their leaders. And this is something that should be absolutely rejected.
And one more question. You came to Sarajevo to promote your book. What is your wish? What would you like to hear from them or say to them?
Really, I would like to hear from them about their own experiences and what resonates for them as they are learning about the situation of Palestinians in this book, as they're watching the news. I would like to learn from the people of Sarajevo.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Dragi gledalci, ovo su bile minute razgovora sa Nathan Thrallom, američkim esejistom, piscem i autorom knjige Jedan dan u životu Abeda Salame. Mi se vidimo naredne sedmice u novom izdanju rubrike Minute sa, kada vam donosimo novu priču i nove teme.